In this masterclass, we bring in a fitness legend to talk about expert positioning, scaling with one funnel, and the Superman complex. Hey guys, what's going on? Austin Distel here with the Entrepreneur Alliance. Today, I have the man, the myth, the legend, AJ Rivera here. Many of you guys know him if you're in the business, gym, fitness world. He's one of the most well-known coaches, and he has gotten to this point in such a short, small amount of time. It's incredible. And this guy, I have to brag about him because he's the most humble man in the world. So today, we're going to kind of open up the floor for him to share how he got to this expert status so quickly, and then also how he used internet marketing using one funnel, really simple business, to scale to over $1 million in 7 months, and has gone on from there to being able to land 100,000 per year clients, along with all types of other amazing businesses all put together. And this guy is just a great, genuine, authentic guy. You know, that's kind of how we swing here in the Entrepreneur Alliance. We love authenticity and transparency. And so AJ today is going to pull back the curtain on his business and show us exactly how he did it. So make sure that you put off your phone, turn off Facebook, put on Do Not Disturb, and take an hour out of your time today to learn how to become an expert and use internet marketing to grow your business. So today I'm going to introduce here AJ. Excited for this one, AJ. I'd love to kind of start off with hearing your story and trying to figure out, like, what are the steps that you made to get to, you know, this point here today? Did you always grow up as an entrepreneur? Is your family entrepreneurial? I'm going to kind of open up the floor here and let you tell your story, man.
Totally. Yeah. That was, first of all, that was like the greatest intro I've ever, I think, received by any person. So I appreciate that. I hope I can live up to it here in the next hour or so. So entrepreneur, how did I start? So my grandfather and my father were both entrepreneurs. My grandfather did it full time. My dad kind of like towed the line of like wanting to be safe and wanting to be an entrepreneur. And you can kind of see it even now. He goes back and forth all the time with that war. So I definitely had that growing up. I had that sort of I was like, okay, that's possible as a lifestyle. It may not be what my folks think is the safest thing, but it's definitely possible. And there's a way to do it. So kind of my whole life growing up, and I tell this, I guess, story anytime I'm on a podcast or in a membership or anywhere, right, is like, I always looked at everything as like, what is the return I'm going to get on my time or my energy here? Whether it be school, whether it be projects, work, anything. I was always like, well, what do I get for putting in that much energy? So I was always from a young age thinking about ROI. Even with my part-time job as a kid, I remember thinking, okay, a job is going to just take an hour of my time. So whichever one is going to give me the most amount of money for that time just makes the most sense. Because my time is my time no matter what I'm doing, no matter how difficult or easy the job is. So I didn't really even factor that into it. I more factored into what's the return I'm going to get. So that's kind of how I went the whole way through. When I was 18, I went to college like most normal people. I needed a part-time job. And so I started researching what part-time job had the biggest ROI. And I literally, I was like, okay, hourly, what can I work part-time that makes a lot of money? And so I actually ended up in personal training because of that. A lot of people don't know this actually about me. When I went into personal training, it was because I thought I could make a lot of money doing it. I wasn't even in shape. I was actually out of shape. So I actually remember pulling out, what was all my money at the time was like $800. That was my whole savings from high school jobs and stuff. I went and bought a certification for a personal training test. I went and bought protein powder. I went and bought pre-workout. I didn't know what they did, but I knew I needed them. I went and bought vitamins. I wasn't sure what to use. And I decided I was going to become a personal trainer. I called the buffest friend I had, and his name was Kevin Leahy. He's still a personal trainer, and he was like the most jacked dude I knew. I was like, I need you to teach me everything about personal training. And so over the course of 6 months, I got in really good shape, and I like learned about training so that I knew I could help other people, because I wasn't going to go into an industry and like steal from people. I wasn't going to go in there and say, yeah, I could totally help you get fit and not know what I was doing. So that's how it started. And yeah, it worked. I mean, I got big in a short time. My mom thought I was on steroids. She still to this day will randomly, like at Christmas or something, she'll be like, hey, when you were 18, you're on steroids? It's okay. It's okay. I'll still love you. I'm like, no, I just like went from being scrawny to being okay. So
Wow, that's incredible, man.
So, yeah.
Hey, just real quick, your microphone is hitting your zipper.
Oh, my bad.
We're getting some reverb on that, just letting
Okay, cool.
you know.
All right. Better?
I think so. Yeah.
I'll be very
That's
conscious.
incredible. That's so funny, though. Your mom thought you were on steroids. Like, do you have any photos from that time where you were just like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I do have some photos. I remember I had a friend of mine who, like, I had a picture next to her, and like it was, it's sometime in the fall, and then in Christmas time, which is like when I got big, and it was me next to her, and I looked like twice the size. I was bigger than I am right now, but yeah, I do have some of those photos. It was really wild to think about those times. I'm not, I still work out, but I'm not as into being a behemoth as I was back then. I was super into it. But anyway, yeah, so I became the personal trainer, and then I started trying to get jobs. And I quickly learned that most of these places take crazy cuts for my position. I was like, hey, I'm charging $50, $100 an hour. You're going to pay me $18? That doesn't feel right, considering you just have to like let me have space here. And really, like, if I was here with somebody training that like, and they weren't paying me, like, you wouldn't feel the difference. So I knew quickly, I was like, eventually I have to do this on my own. I can't do it in a gym. I just won't make enough money. And because I was so young, like I look so young. I even like now, some people think I look like hell. Some people think I look like 18. So I'm like, and this was, 10 years ago or whatever. I look like I was a lot younger. And so
how old are you now?
I'm 26 now, actually. So I'm still young, but like, 8 years ago, I looked like I was still, freshman in high school. So it was hard for people to be like, oh yeah, we'll give you more hours, or we'll make you a manager or something like that. So I did what a lot of trainers do, and I found a space that I can rent so that I could start running my own kind of boot camp gym. And, I guess to speed that up, I eventually opened up my own space, became a personal trainer, went through all those struggles that personal trainers go through, messed up more times than I got things right. But I was, by the end, humble enough. I started super egotistical, thinking I knew everything, where I hired enough coaches, mentors, bought a lot of online courses, bought a lot of info products. Some of them were crap. A lot of them were amazing. And I eventually figured it out to the point where I got my gyms. By the time I sold it in 2015, they had done $500,000. I had 2 studios, and they had scaled to about $500,000 a year. So to kind of shorten that story, because I could probably spend all hour just talking about my medium interesting story. And so we scaled up to $500,000. And then later that year, that February of 2016, is when I hooked up with good old Dave Rogenmoser and started going into the world of online business coaching for fit pros to teach them kind of the same thing I did.
Wow, that's incredible, man. So you already were running $2 million studios?
They were $500,000 together.
Okay.
$500,000. So it's about $250,000 each. I think if I would have pushed myself, I probably could have done 300 each. The people I sold the studios to, one of them is going to hit over 300. So I'm like, I probably could have done it, but I had like 60 something growth. So right under $500,000 for both of them. And that was like due to being able to really optimize, like taking all the things I learned from different coaches and mentors and programs and putting it in a way that felt like ethical, but made the most sense to me, like energetically. So like that was, I think, really the thing that saved me. If I would have never hired a coach, I probably would have spent coaches. Actually, I've had lots, probably too many. I probably would have spent forever just trying multiple things and just treading water. I probably would have closed, is the truth. I would have lost motivation and would have just closed because I would have felt like I'm putting the same amount of work in and I'm not getting my ROI. I would have been like, I'm just going to go work somewhere. Yeah. So that's really the thing that kind of tipped it for me. And
I feel like half of the benefit of having a coach is the accountability side. along
100%.
with the information that he'll give you.
100%. Yeah. I don't think when you hire coaches, you're paying for information. I think you're paying for momentum and implementation. Like, you can find all the information out there for free, but you have no motivation to stick to it, right? Because you don't know if it's worth anything because it was free. And so given that kind of direction and that momentum from a coach who says, listen, I know this works, is kind of what you're paying for. Like, one of the coaches I hired, I actually ran the exact system he taught me when I first opened, but I didn't know it was successful. And so all I literally got was like, okay, the way I was doing it before was right. That's all I got. I didn't learn anything from from his, like, he had program materials and all that. Like, I learned nothing from all that because I already knew it, but all I knew is now that I just need to commit to that business model. So I think you're just kind of being told for, like, which direction to go. Like, hey, coach, point me in the right direction, and then you go. And then that's going to save me a lot more time than me wandering around hoping I end up at my destination. So,
yeah. And a lot of coaches also have a mastermind program attached to it, right? Where other members of his coaching program or her coaching program are put together and they can share ideas amongst each other.
Totally. Yeah. So most of my coaching programs were done like as groups. Only one of them was one-on-one. And some of them had, like, they were all mastermind style, and where you're kind of like in a Facebook group and you work with them together. That's the great thing about this EA here too, right? Like, people don't realize the crazy value this is. It's just having this Facebook group with people who are a little bit invested to actually give you an intelligent answer is worth, I think way more than what you guys charge. So it's really an amazing thing you guys have here, because you can ask a question and get an informed answer instead of just posting on your wall and getting your cousin responding something weird, So yeah, but a lot of them did have masterminds attached to them.
Yeah, that's so true, man. I've really enjoyed the community that we built up here so far. Just so many different industries and inputs, and I think that the variable of being, a small payment every month, makes it's almost like a gatekeeper from all of the nonsense players out there on the internet.
Totally. Yeah. No, I think it's almost like you're just paying to keep people out versus like, like to keep like jokers out or takers. Takers are very triggering for me. Because I used to be a taker, we dislike the types of people we used to be or the traits we hate in ourselves.
Yeah,
like,
so true.
I used to like be a huge taker and never give. So like, it's very triggered by it now, and I try my best to not be.
Well, hey, thanks for giving your time here today. So you have still your 2 studios?
No, I sold them. So
wow.
Yeah, so February, I kind of started last February. Yeah, not this February 2016. I started getting into the coaching arena, right? And my gyms were automated. Like, that's like the thing a lot of even fitness business coaches won't teach you is they're like, yeah, I could, you can get your gym to 20K, 30K a month, which isn't that difficult. But it is difficult to do it in a way that's automated so that you can really travel or even take a holiday or know your gym can run without you. Because I don't really think it's a business. I had a hard time when people called me an entrepreneur for a real long time when I owned the gyms, because I'm like, no, I'm not. I just have a job that pays okay, because if I go away, the whole business goes away. So I didn't feel like a real business owner. It actually took, I think, until I made like $1 million in coaching before I was like, okay, now I feel all right calling myself a CEO. Now I feel myself okay being an entrepreneur, because everything was more automated. But yeah, so after I had those gyms for a while, I realized like the things that excited me was like training up managers and teaching salespeople and hiring people and like growing. And I really enjoyed the business side of fitness more than I enjoyed the like training people and the helping people lose weight or get muscle or whatever. I enjoyed it fine, but I didn't love it. I wasn't super passionate about it. So once my gyms were automated, my managers were like, hey, I would love to own one of these gyms one day too. Thinking it could be locations 3 and 4. But I was enjoying the coaching consultant so much. I was like, you know what? Why don't I just sell these gyms? Let these people be the biggest versions of themselves, not keep them small. And then, just move into the coaching consulting full time. And I don't know. I'll figure it out when I get there. So that happened in April. So it was pretty quick how me going into coaching and then kind of selling off my gyms. And they both still exist. They renamed them, and they're in the Chicagoland area, and they're both doing well.
That's amazing. And so you're originally from Chicago.
From Chicago.
And you've now moved out to sunny California, right?
I am, yes. I'm in Los Angeles now, actually in Santa Monica, which is kind of just the west side of LA if you're not familiar. But yeah, it was interesting. It was one of my goals upon I don't know, for a while, my wife and I knew we didn't want to stay in Chicago. It's just too cold. And so we were kind of traveling places when my gyms were automated there, especially for like a year when they were really automated. And when we visited here, we were like, yeah, we should probably just move here and see how it goes. And selling the gyms made that easier. I mean, I could have run the gyms from here, but it's even easier not having them. So because you don't have a physical tie in another location. Not that that should limit anybody, because if it's running correctly, you shouldn't have to physically be in it. So
right. So true. And so how long ago was it that you ended up selling your businesses and going coaching full time?
10, 11 months ago. Something like that. It was like 11 months ago. That feels like years ago. Holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember, were you ever a part of the 6K group?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think of like the first time that maybe we ever met, but maybe it was in like Dave's like high ticket consulting or something like that. One of those programs there.
Probably one or all those programs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, when I called Dave, he was selling the 6K program, and I was like, I don't want to know how to do that. I want to know how to teach people what I'm doing. Can you help me? He goes, I think so. He was just completely, that's what I love about Dave, and really all you guys, like, you're just real honest and authentic. He's like, I've never done it before, but I think I can. I'll just tell you everything I know how to do. I'm like, great. And that's kind of how I entered the world of internet marketing. And I had really tried for a while to get into the internet world. You know, I remember the coffee shop millionaire ads I would see. I tried to start a pie company, an events company, all these other little side things on the internet. And it was like I was forcing them. And the thing that made the most sense just kind of flowed. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an important distinction for a lot of people going online. I don't know, you probably have a lot to say about this too, is doing what you actually want to do online makes it flow a lot easier than trying to force something else because it seems like the grass is always greener, or it's a shiny object, or it's going to be easier, because none of them are easy. But yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, I mean, there are 1,000,001 ways to make money online.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a few different variables that you got to think about when you are trying to go into that space. Is like, first and foremost, is it ethical? Because there's a lot of unethical ones out there.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, would you be proud of the business? Like, I always think about, like, would I be proud to go on CNN or go on, like, be posted in Entrepreneur Magazine about this entrepreneur did this and has done whatever? Like, would I be proud of that article being published about me?
Yeah.
You know, and I've had several great business ideas that I'm just not the right entrepreneur for the idea.
Yes. That's
so important. Is you gotta be the right person for the right job.
100% agree, man. Yeah, and again, it takes a real ethical person to not go for the money grab, you know, because it always feels like another niche is easier, right? Oh, membership site's easier. No, high ticket coaching is easier. No, courses is easier. Really, it's just like, what thing do you like to do, and what do you excel at? Like, kind of find where those cross paths and just jump into that, you know, like, and I think that's when it feels easy. When you're doing something you feel really aligned with. Or maybe it's just my Southern California ways are rubbing off. Like, the vibes here are rubbing off on me, and that's how I feel. So,
yeah, that's amazing. So I'd love to kind of jump into, like, your story now. At this point, you have you've sold your studios.
Yeah.
You've now teamed up with Dave, and he's starting to mentor you on how to become an expert, and especially in this business gym studio niche, like fitness niche.
Yeah.
What was, like, the advice that Dave gave you that has made you just skyrocket?
Yeah, best pieces of advice he gave me, and I'll give anybody who's watching this, is done is better than perfect. That's stuck with me for forever. Any interview I get for any like magazine or podcast or whatever, I always say done is better than perfect. Stop. Like, it's never going to be perfect. And even if it was, chances are you didn't think of something. So like, just throw it out there and be more reactive instead of proactive. I think that works for me really well. I know a lot of people hate that advice, but yeah, so done is better than perfect, and really be honest with what you want to do, right? So when I started with him, was like, maybe I could go into this other niche or this niche or that niche, because I almost felt guilty teaching people to do exactly what I did, because I had coaches myself. He goes, well, you're going to reach a different audience than any of your coaches could reach. And he's like, it's not like you're claiming you invented anything. It's not like, I'm like, you're right. Right. And he's like, if it's coming from a place of service, you're going to be fine. If you're calling for the money grab, you're going to lose. So those were the big pieces of advice he gave me. And that's what I would tell anybody else out there, is really find the thing you want to do. Don't look for the easy thing. Too often, I feel like people, even, and I'm sure you get this, and people message me or send me an email, or they just post on their wall, what's the easiest niche? AJ, I'm going to go into your niche. It seems like it's really easy. And I'm like, you can try, but like, and that's fine. But if you don't actually want to do it, you're going to have a hard time. And that's what I've seen. I've even seen friends of mine who've gone into my niche and then left the niche after like 3 months, because they're like, yeah, I don't really like this.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And it's just not, that comes out in your voice, when it's not authentic, like people can smell that commission breath, you know?
Totally. Commission breath is the perfect word for it.
Like, it's just like, they can smell that it's not genuine. And I think that you got to really know what you're talking about and find the industry and niche that you believe in, and who you are as a person. So I think that's pretty cool. You have a great story leading up into that profession, so it is very aligned with you being in that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and I think I think that's the biggest, like, it's such hippie advice, but like, you just need to find the thing that feels like it flows, that feels like it's in alignment with what you want to be doing. And it'll be like, it's never going to be easy, but it'll be worth it when it's the things you want to be doing versus something that you're in for a money grab. Like, and I even noticed that with myself. Like, there are all these little side projects, even the past year, where I'm like, ooh, maybe I should do this. And I'm like, I don't actually want to do that. I'm just going for the money grab. That's not right. I'm not going to do it. And luckily, even Dave himself or other friends or colleagues of mine have talked me off that ledge a little bit. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I constantly am, writing ideas down and things I think that would be so great. Yet at the end of the day, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have no priorities. And you really need to focus on, what's the opportunity cost of going and trying something new that's diverting attention from your main gig.
Totally.
And what happens if you double down on one thing? You can get 10x results.
That's like what we're doing now, is we're just kind of doubling down on our one thing that we're great at, right? The one thing, and just dominate with the one thing. Don't get too creative with, us personally, we're not too creative with OTOs or LBOs or, all these other upsells. We actually just got rid of our upsell. We don't want an upsell. We want to have one thing, and that's it. And just making it as simple as possible. And it feels the most like aligned again for us. It feels good about it. If my friend bought it, or my mom, or my love, my wife, I would feel good about what she purchased. So yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about tactics now. What were some of the things that you actually did along the way that helped create your results?
Totally. So yeah, we can get into some strategies and tactics. One of the big things I did was I watched a few video sales letters, some of the top ones out there, and I basically reverse engineered them, right? There was I remember even Dave himself, he just shot me a link to a few different video sales letters because he didn't have anything formally put together. Now he does, but he didn't before, right? So I literally watched them for days because I wanted to take every single second of what they were doing and reverse engineer like what was going on, what was being said, and why. And so I was really strategic with basically deconstructing the entire process and then rebuilding it with something that makes sense for my industry. So that is what I use to grow my business. Is I did a really very like high end, I think, video sales letter, kind of value video style thing. And I tried to inject as much authenticity and realness in it as possible. I guess not inject, but allow it to come forward. Because sometimes when we're on stage, we feel like we need to be this other person, right? And so I was like, I'm just going to talk like it's my friend who needs help. And that's what I tried to carry into my video. I'm like, let me just be cool. Let me be normal and just talk to people and making sure I'm like mentioning little things here and there that only a fitness business owner would understand, right? Talking about, the difference between, the low end $10 a month gyms, which is like a thorn in their side, right? Or people who quit all the time or they come in flows and just mentioning them, not highlighting them, but mentioning them throughout the video so that people who are watching were like, oh, this guy really knows like my industry. He's been there. And over and over again, that's what people connect with us is that they're like, yeah, AJ's very relatable and approachable. And so that's what, again, we try to double down on, is just being relatable and approachable. So that was our big tactic, quote unquote, that we started with, was our value video. That's not sustainable though, so you need to do other stuff. So value videos is what started it. The next thing we started to implement was like, your basic retargeting videos, meeting people where they're at. Don't just go at your audience with the same offer over and over again. We have different offers for different people depending on where they ended up. So, for instance, something as simple as somebody who like landed on your application page and retargeting them to hey, you forgot to finish this, gets in a lot of people. Retargeting people who maybe saw your value video but didn't apply to another webinar or something like that, because now you get another form of training, and then you can kind of hit more pain points that maybe weren't as highlighted in your value video. So that's something that works really well for us. We do it all the time and it works really well. So those things work really well. I actually started doing the daily email in October maybe of last year, and that literally I send an email and I get 5 applications, which means I'm going to get a sale. So I think getting good at copywriting is or even adequate is going to be really good for building that relationship. I think it's the reason why people kind of feel like they know who I am when they meet me, because they have the emails and they have our video content and they have our ads, right? Our webinars and paid. So like hitting them, kind of every way that they can. We try to do the omnipresence thing. So yeah, but I mean, starting, some sort of value video or webinar is definitely the simplest way to start. And just
how much value do you give up front before asking?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so like with the value video, it depends, right? Value videos, VSLs are shorter. So we mostly touch on a few pain points, like slam them with social proof. Of which we literally have like 100 testimonials now. But like slam them with social proof and more like just point out, listen, you're struggling with this, this, and this, and really all you need is X and Y. So if you want me to show you X and Y, I can do that. Click here, apply, and we'll jump in. So I would say the video sales letter, the value video, is medium value. I don't know if it's the most. I would say our webinars, we give a lot of value. There are people who leave our webinars, and this is kind of like against the grain of most like webinar experts. They say don't overteach, and we don't, but we do teach. And there are people who have left our webinars and said, I made $1,000 sale because of your webinar. And that makes us feel good too, because like even if they don't ever sign up, at least I can feel good about my time I'm investing there on the webinar. It's not hinged on a result. It's hinged on the process, which is great because I enjoy that process.
Totally. I really believe in that concept of over-delivering up front. It's how I always land my personal consulting clients whenever I do internet marketing for them. Is I write out basically the entire plan for them. And I'm like, you could either implement this yourself and learn how to do this. you could give this to somebody else and hire them to do this. Or, I mean, I'm the easiest and most convenient, but I also, cost a good bit, but I know how this thing works and I can do it quickly. It's like, I just try and give it all away up front. I don't think that you can outgive in sales or whatever you want to call it,
Totally.
consulting. Like, you can just give everything. Don't hold anything back. And I think that just shows like transparency and authenticity. And then it also leading with generosity. I've always felt good about that.
Right.
Like, you can't feel bad about yourself by helping people, Like,
no, yeah. And then at the end of I 100% agree with you, dude. Cause like, you jump on and like when I was starting to do sales calls all day, I was like hinged on if I got a sale. I'm like, I want to feel good about what I do regardless of the sale. So try to give people as much actionable advice as humanly possible on a, consulting strategy, sales call, whatever you want to call it, right? They're all kind of the same. And that way, even if they don't sign up, you're like, you know what? That was a half hour well spent. I gave them my best information. Hopefully they'll be able to action it some way in some form in their life. And yeah, that's something we try to put, I love that you do that too. There's not a lot of people who do that. And I think it is the difference in people connecting with us. And it just feels better. And I'm kind of over wars maximizing the most money. I'm like, just what feels good and what can make me feel excited and okay with my day every day. And that's where we're really focusing all of our energy in our business. So.
Totally, man. So you said that you write a daily email.
Yeah.
Now, is that like a campaign, or you have this thing starting to stockpile into automation?
So, okay, we have both. We have automations, and we use like 6 to 8 follow-up steps with each level of automation. Basically, I guess to spell it out, it would be like if somebody registered for like if somebody downloaded a cheat sheet, basically we would send them up to 6 emails pushing them to our free 7-day Fit Pro marketing challenge, right? And then in there, they would get up to 8 emails inviting them to a webinar. And then the people on that webinar are the ones we would potentially pitch to jump on a call or sell them a course if we ever wanted to do that. And that I got from my friend Scott Oldford. But that is the sort of, that's how we do the follow-ups. And then if they haven't booked a call, we'll do up to 21 days of automations trying to get them on a call. And then if after all that stuff they still haven't booked, then we put them on our daily email list, which is just content and relationship building. And we have a lot of people who are like, yeah, I've been on your list for 3 months and now I'm ready. And you build that relationship so that you become the top of mind awareness, because we're so distractible that I could spend all this time warming somebody up and then some other jerk with an ad gets them. So I think you really need to be as like on top of them, keep that top of mind awareness, put your content on there, friend request them on Facebook. One of the things we did that I think is the reason we get a lot of sales, and we saw an increase in our sales numbers, like in actual data, is we put a link to friend request me in our funnel.
Oh, wow.
In the actual funnel. Mm-hmm. And we also pointed them to a free Facebook group in that funnel as well. So a lot of people don't do that. They try to keep them in the email list and on the webinar. They don't want them getting too distracted, right? It's almost like they have something to hide. We want to show them we have nothing to hide. So you can friend me and you'll just see a whole bunch of video testimonials of my clients, or you can join my free Facebook group. And they're like, right now there's like 3,000 people in there, which isn't that big, but it's big-ish. And they're all super niche, right? So they can just kind of work together in there, and they can connect with other personal trainers and be like, hey, have you worked with AJ? Oh, you have? Oh, it's great. Okay, cool. So that people don't think I'm a Nigerian prince, because for whatever reason, people are still afraid of the internet. As no matter how hard Facebook or Google regulates it, we still think we're going to be scammed. And to be fair, there are some scams, right? So fair enough. But that's all the stuff we added to really kind of position ourselves as experts and build that relationship with our prospect before they even sign up.
Dude, I love it. You're not no Nigerian prince.
I'm not a Nigerian prince. No, people say that. I mean, I say it, I think, on every webinar. I say it now. I'm like, guys, I'm not a Nigerian prince. Like the last webinar I did, I actually did the camera of me here first. I was like, look, I'm a real person. This is my house. Like, I'm not like I'm not trying to send you gold and or anything weird. So, yeah.
That's
I think it
funny.
helps. I don't know.
Wow. So, okay, now we've got the internet side, but you're about to be featured in entrepreneur.com, and you are definitely well known amongst all the other fitness business gurus.
Yes.
Like, everybody knows who you are. How does that happen? It doesn't just happen from your ads.
Yeah.
How have you connected with Entrepreneur Magazine and all of these other people?
Yeah, good question. So I think it starts with it actually starts with the ads in a weird way, right? Anybody can launch an ad and make a little bit of money online. I think if you don't get people results, then people will notice. They'll be like, why is Austin or why is AJ's ad up for 3 months and there's no results? There's no testimonials. So like one of the things we really focused on is we wanted for like 2 or 3 months when we started, we had 100% success rate through our program, meaning people got their ROI inside of we have an we might switch it to 12 weeks, but back then we had an 8-week program and they got their ROI within those 8 weeks. And everybody did for a long time. Eventually somebody kind of broke the mold, but it's still above like 90% our success rate. So it's great. And I think that's where it really started. And it seems like such a basic, typical, boring advice. Get your clients results and people will start talking about it. But that's kind of what we did because I was essentially a nobody in this industry, right? And all of my friends who are subject matter experts in this industry have used the same words over and over again. AJ, you just came out of nowhere and now we can't stop seeing you. And so that's how we really started it, was by just getting people amazing results and continuously putting out content like that. So it really started with making sure we were getting our clients results and then not being afraid to really go all in on our ads. Having sophisticated ads management really helped. Anybody can just launch an ad to one cold interest group. Cold interest group is not a way to run your business at all. You need to like have actual audiences and you have to have lookalikes and different retargeting audiences. And if you have all those, then you're able to build a business using ads a lot. So that's one of the things we did a lot of. We've also gotten really big into Facebook Live, which has resulted in a great deal of success for us.
I noticed that you're on Facebook Live all the time.
All the time we're on Facebook Live. We actually have like a professional, kind of semi-professional, I think it's professional, get up here where it's like we have a live stream dedicated computer. We have like special like professional level cameras, professional lighting, got this backdrop here. Somebody called me out on this backdrop the other day. I'm like, I'm not trying to convince you I'm actually running a webinar in an alley. I know this is he like commented anyway, but yeah, so we've been going heavy into live, and that's why Facebook is in the process of considering us as a Facebook success story. I have more info on that later, so that's not set in stone, but we may be featured as that as well. So the Facebook Lives really allowed us to kind of be relevant all day, every day in front of our clients. And we actually spend money on boosting our lives with no link, no anything, just to get in their faces all day, every day. And that also allows
boost your Facebook Live?
We boost our Facebook Live, yeah. And here's something for anybody watching that's actionable. If you are doing Facebook Lives, even if they're just on your phone, they don't have to be a professional, right? Boost your Facebook Live to people most likely to comment and like it first for like 24 hours. And then the next 24 hours, boost. I learned this from my friend Scott Oldford, so I'm not that smart. After that, for 24 hours, boost it to people who are like kind of aware of your world, and then boost it to like the furthest reaching, coldest audience. Not cold, but the coldest, like somebody who's seen your opt-in but never gave you their email. That's what I'm talking about. And then what you do is you put it in front of people who are going to like, comment, and share anyway. And then because it has comments, and shares, when you push it to people further out, they're like, I've got to check this out. This has 500 likes, right? And then when you push it out to the coldest interest group, you look like a subject matter expert. So that's something, anybody, if you're not doing, you can do it right now. And you can kind of create this like omnipresence in front of people with your Facebook Lives, where like, we're redoing our marketing right now. We're going to boost all of our Facebook Lives right now. And basically you're just going to nonstop see my stupid face all day, every day. So that's something that works really, really well. The other thing I did was started interviewing people on my show. And that's really where I started to become an industry expert was I was this nobody, but people couldn't stop seeing me, and I didn't hate my competition. I don't hate my competition. One of my good friends is a direct competitor in my exact market with the same first name as me, AJ. And he's better looking than me. And like, so, but I'm like, I probably talk to that guy like once a week, right? And so because of that, I like have him on my show, and I have all these other subject matter experts on my show. So like now, if you trust this other person and you're thinking about me, now you trust me a lot more. And the inverse has become true now, where people want to be on the show because people will be considered more of an expert if they're on my live show, which we then turn into a podcast and a YouTube show as well. So we repurpose that content all over the place. But yeah, that was one of the ways we became known in this industry, was we just kind of crushed people with results, and then we made friends with all of our competitors, like who are ethical. The unethical ones I won't make friends with, or the haters. But like most people are cool. So like you just befriend them. I'm like, what can I do to help you? You want to be on my show? I'll boost your thing. We boost it. It's our money, and we'll get no affiliate commission on it. And you can maybe you'll get some sales, right?
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. So I'm actually here. I'm going to share my screen real quick. I'm here on the Facebook page. Is this where you go live?
Yeah, I go live from so that's our Facebook Live webinar. Another thing I recommend doing if you have the technology to do it, like a Wirecast or an OBS, Facebook Live webinars work incredibly well. It's harder because it goes against the rules of like get their emails first, but we kind of did it as a test, and we get applications very inexpensively. Plus, people who watch those end up in our retargeting audience anyway, right? So even though they're not on our list formally, we can still remarket to them. So it's pretty cool. We go live at least every Wednesday. Sometimes we'll do bonus episodes, and we have our quote unquote AJTV, right? The most original name show on the internet, every Wednesday with a different expert. And so like this week we have Jay Dang, who's actually one of my clients. He's kind of an Instagram expert. Next week we have Jeff Woods. I've had Craig Valentine on there. I've had Scott Oldford on there. I've had Dave on there. Hopefully one day I'll get Austin on there.
Maybe one day.
One day, if I can, if I reach that level of success. So that's what we do. And we just, my friend AJ, who is in my market, my friend Roz, who is in my market, my friend Darren, who is in my exact market, like all these people are quote direct competitors, but really like there's enough for everybody, right? Like there's such a scarcity mindset, like there's a limited pool of people we could serve, and really it's just not the case. Even if I could hit 1% of my industry, I would be, first of all, that would be a crazy ceiling, but that would also be 8 figures. 1%. So you don't need all the clients. You just need enough to help and connect with the ones who make sense.
Dude, I think that this is so cool how you have like this like graphic image on top.
Thanks, dude.
Is that in editing afterward, or is that like a feature in Facebook where you can kind of have an overlap?
Yeah, it's actually used through the software we have called Livestream Studio, which is from the company Livestream, and you can like push graphics live while you're on there. Yeah, I had Mike on there. I think he's in the EA. So I had Mike on the show. I had a whole bunch of different people. And by the way, somebody watching this show was able to book a speaking gig after watching it.
No way. Oh, because I guess the host of the studio or the host of the conference watched it?
Yeah, well, no, he was teaching people how to land public speaking gigs, and one of my clients watched it and then took the action that he gave and was able to like book a speaking gig within 24 hours. So like I try to make these like video TV shows really like high end. I really almost good enough to be sold, but I don't sell them. That's really the goal with this. So, Joel Irway is a webinar expert, right? Like everybody knows him, I feel like. And so I had him come in and teach us, what should we be looking at? And people have been able to take the advice from our live show and be able to really move on. Yeah, that's my buddy Darren. He's awesome, that guy. And he does literally the same thing I do, right? He also does online personal training, which I don't do, just because I'm not as passionate about fitness, and he is. So,
right. And look at all these comments, man. Like you got 20 comments, you have a ton of hearts and likes and thousands of views. And that's on every single one. A lot of people really like your stuff. What is this software again that allows you to do this?
So it's two. One's SaaS and one is software that you download into your computer. Live Stream Studio, but that one's kind of hard to just get if you're a normal person. So like what I would say is Wirecast is probably your next best bet. And then I use Joycaster to you can multi-stream or tri-stream, or you can actually stream to up to like 30 places or something crazy like that. I think it's even more. But we stream live to YouTube and Facebook Live at the same time. So anytime we go
You're
live,
knocking in a bunch of birds with one stone. This is not just a Facebook Live tactic. This is Facebook Live, YouTube Live.
yeah, 100%. So we go YouTube Live, and people can comment and stuff too, and they engage on YouTube Live. And if they're a subscriber on YouTube, they get that notification dinged right on their phone every time. And so we go to YouTube and Facebook radio and upload it into our podcast. And we also turn the yeah, you're gonna look it up, AJ Rivera. Oh no, yeah.
I'm just so interested, man. This is really cool. Look at all these live episodes here.
Yeah, so those are just things we went live on, and some of them, usually we go in and edit it afterwards. But yeah, see, and then you can see some guy commented, like, we didn't boost this one either. This is just like, hey, I really like your stuff, AJ. Thanks, dude. Whoever you are, I don't know who that is. And then they kind of end up in our, web, in our funnel, and watching all of our stuff.
And at the end of every single one of these, is there a call to action?
So I used to do a hard call to action. Now my call to action is just like and share. Sometimes I will put a formal call to action. And in the show, there's links like under my face that pop up that are like, they're not clickable. They'll be clickable on YouTube, but on Facebook they're not. It's just, where to download a free training or so we will occasionally do it. We have it there as a soft sell, like keeping it in the back of their mind. And if people engage with us, we'll have like our marketing manager will go in there and message them, hey, book a call here. So we do get applications from it, and that's essentially for free. We've also run live stream webinars and gotten over 100 people to show up for free. And our close rate was incredibly high on those as well. So I kind of think that's where a lot of webinar things are going, just because we're so distractible, and webinars are so many steps where we're going to see like Facebook Live. All it's going to take is an integration that can pull their email, and then old school webinars are done, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, a good friend of mine, Wyatt, and his partner David are working on Demio, which is a great webinar software. I think that hopefully they'll be able to do all that kind of cool stuff in there and make the integrations. So at this point, you are growing in momentum and you're scaling. Mm-hmm. How do you scale as an expert? Like, what are the biggest hurdles that you had to jump out of to get to the next point?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the biggest hurdle is you have this scarcity mindset, because it feels like easy come, easy go, even though it wasn't easy come. You might have been working for years to reach the level you're at. I also think complacency, at least for me, is my biggest my biggest adversary, right? Like it's the biggest thing I have to fight, because when all of a sudden you are like, lucky for me, I was already doing like $50K a month in my businesses, right? So like I wasn't all going in my pocket. I was keeping like 30, but like still, right? Like I was used to making 5-figure income. When all of a sudden you are making, $50K a month in your business, you almost struggle with like worthiness. At least I did. I'm like, do I deserve this much? Am I good enough to be doing this? What could I be doing better? This can all be taken away. And I think like for me, it was like not staying lazy, always growing, and always trying to serve people as much as possible. Keep the focus on serving as opposed to your revenue, and the revenue goes up. Anytime we started adding stuff to our program to make it better for results, we started making more money. And it's not the reason we did it. It was just a very welcome bonus. And I think you have to let go of fear. A lot of people will hit a ceiling with this model because they're afraid to hire people. They're afraid to hire salespeople because they're never going to close as good as you. And that's true. They never are. And that's okay. And they're afraid to hire another coach because they're like, well, what if the coach steals my clients, right? What if my ads manager hire somebody else who can afford to pay them more, right? So you have to let go of all those fears and that control and just know, like, kind of be okay with like the way your business is, and know that you're in a disruptible industry and just not to be super attached to it. That was the biggest thing for me. I think, hiring an ads manager, a sales manager, and an operations manager are the three biggest things that allowed me to scale to where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's really good. Do you also have like a virtual assistant or somebody that helps you with like those kind of tasks?
So I have an operations manager actually, and my operations manager is the one who kind of filled out that role as like an assistant. And she actually was my, number two kind of girl in my gyms too. She kind of ran the gyms when I was gone. And then when I sold the gyms, I actually sold assets and contracts, and then I didn't sell hers. And so I was like, you're coming with me. And she at first wasn't super happy about it, but now she's ecstatic. But yeah.
That's awesome. I have personally found that same thing. And I was trying to research into like why I guess didn't feel worthy of a lot of money at one point. Or I once had a business that was built on, helping teams. And there was always this cap. I could never get over a membership of having over like something like 250 people in my team. I could never get over that. And I was like always trying to figure it out. And there's a guy named John C. Maxwell who's, and one of his laws of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership is the law of the lid. And basically just says that, everybody in life has a lid, and you'll either exceed it or always be below it. But there's the lid in which that your mental capacity, the universe will allow you to have.
Yeah.
And if you go over that, which many people overshoot it, and they end up like getting all of this flow of money into their life, and it will crash back right down to where their lid is. Maybe that's not income. Maybe it's relationships. Maybe it's whatever. Right, but we have a lid of what our mental state will allow us to accept. And then there's other people that have not yet hit their lid. They haven't hit what their potential is, I guess. And so then it will eventually, the universe will correct itself and get back to that point. And so you might lose a lot of money, but because that your leadership lid or whatever lid that you have is at this point, it will recorrect and it'll get back to where it should be. And then other people, maybe they have, tripped over a ton of money. And like, for example, like the trailer park family that wins the lotto. Mm-hmm. And within 2 years, they're bankrupt again. It's because they didn't deserve that much money, you could say. And so it will come back down to where, their original mindset cap is.
Totally. Yeah. No, 100%. I'm with you. Gay Hendricks talks about that in his book, The Big Leap. He calls it the upper limit problem, where you hit a certain limit and basically you're going to keep yourself where you think you deserve to be, or where mentally, spiritually, emotionally you should be right now. And so anytime, like in my business or my life, I'm like, why am I hitting a plateau? It's because just because I'm improved and just because I'm a better person than I was 3 months ago doesn't mean I can stay here, right? You need to keep growing. Another good, and I don't know who quoted this, I remember it from my friend Alan Brower, what got me here won't get you there, right? And just because you're like, oh, I wake up early now and I, read a spiritual book and I meditate and I work out and I eat healthy, that's got you here, but you need to do more to reach the next level. Or you got to be cool with where you're at. And my buddy Jesse Elder says this all the time. You are making the exact amount of money you want to make right now, whether you know it or not. That's how much you actually.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's very powerful. Yeah, you're making however much money you're making right now. That's actually, whether you believe it or not, how much money you want to be making at this point in time in your life. And it's reflected in how you treat yourself, how you treat others. Do you love your own body? Do you love your own energy, right? Do you respect your own time? And if you don't, that's how you're self-sabotaging yourself to keep yourself where you're at. But yeah. I mean, I think it's a huge mindset thing. And so I have to keep pushing and pushing to the next level until I'm where I want to be, which I don't know where that is yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll start to wrap it up here. But I remember that there was a lot of entrepreneurs have what's called the Superman syndrome, where they basically let their business, their empire that they have created up to this point, start to self-implode because maybe they don't feel worthy or whatever, down to a certain point, not completely gone, but just so they can be the Superman that goes back in, fixes and rebuilds it. And it's almost like this like underlying self-destructive behavior that actually a lot of entrepreneurs suffer with.
Totally.
And it's the reason why they can't make the jump to go from 100,000 to 1,000,000 or whatever the jump is.
Yeah.
Because they're constantly having to allow problems to get made, and then they come in and they are the solution. They love the feeling of being the answer to a problem in their business, rather than hiring others and doing, the right things to do to scale.
Yeah, no, 100%. Dude, I could talk to you about this all day. It's a shame I have another thing to go to, but like, yeah, everybody's significance, especially entrepreneurs, right? Because chances are one of their 5 strengths or significance is wrapped up in their business, right? And so they have no significance in their real life. So they're dissatisfied in their normal life. They don't even realize it because they stay so focused on their business that they can't, like, it's like you said, they purposely self-sabotage and they need to be needed in their business. And so it prevents them from growing, but it also allows them to fail a little bit in some regards. And I think allowing you to have kind of like those, those 6 levels of fulfillment and happiness outside of your business is going to let you have more freedom in real life and remove your attachment to this like identity, right? People have this identity. I'm an entrepreneur, right? Like I'm the face of this company. I'm a CEO. Chances are you're not the best person to run your company. And I know that, right? You're the best person to start it. You're probably not the best person to manage it, scale it to even more. And I'm okay with that because my significance, I'm able to find that in other things in my personal life. And so, for a lot of people, it's their family or, going to church or learning how to, jump off of buildings with a parachute, like all these crazy things. But finding those areas of fulfillment in your personal life is going to allow your business to really be a business finally. And I was struggling with that hardcore a few months ago, where my identity, like my business is scaled to the point where it doesn't need me anymore. And that feels like, well, what's the point of me then? And I think every entrepreneur will, if they're not already struggling with that at some point, if they don't have, the Tony Robbins things, right? Certainty, growth, contribution, significance, love, and I don't remember the last one in their personal lives. So making sure you have that balance lets both things flourish.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. Well, as we wrap up here, last question for you. What is the one piece of advice that you can give any of the entrepreneurs here in the Entrepreneur Alliance as they're watching this video? What is the one piece of advice that you can help them on to become the expert in their own niche, to scale their business, to, be the best entrepreneur they can be?
Yeah. Okay. So if they wanted to be the expert in their niche, I would say start becoming friends with all the other experts in your niche. That's what really worked for me. And it sounds like boring basic advice, but get people amazing results and document it. Document all their results. We have tons of videos. It's built into our program to give us a testimonial video. Get as many of those as possible, and nobody will be able to deny that you're the subject matter expert. Be so good they can't ignore you. And that was our strategy, because I feel like I'm pretty easy to ignore. So we just kept hammering them and just said, you know what, forget about this. I'll be friends with them if they want to, but I'm not going to be dependent on a relationship for my business either. So I don't know if that's helpful, but I hope it is.
Dude, I got a lot of value out of this training, like myself. I think that this is awesome. So everybody that was here, I really hope you guys enjoyed this as well. Stay tuned. Every single week we do release a new masterclass. And so the one after this, I believe, is going to be Instagram marketing, how to scale your business using Instagram, and how to run an Instagram on automation, and then also do it in the most professional way as well. So anyway, AJ, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, and I really appreciate, guys. AJ is also a member of the Entrepreneur Alliance, so you'll see him and they're delivering value every once in a while, going on Facebook Live sometimes.
I do that
But
sometimes.
if anybody did want to connect with you, AJ, how would be the best way?
Yeah, probably my Facebook page, or you could go aj-rivera.com is my website if you want to like look at my stuff or whatever. If you want to reach me personally, you can email my personal email. I'll give it to anybody in the CA who watched my whole hour of talking. aj@aj-rivera.com. That's the personal secret email that basically only my friends and my work people get. So feel free to
guys. You all hear that? That's incredible. No, I mean it's very seldom that you get somebody so successful as you being that open, and that just is a testament to the kind of character you are, man. I love it. You know, it's great to have good people around you, and so I really appreciate the hour out of your day, and thanks so much for hopping on, man.
Totally. Thanks for having me. We'll have to get you over on the AJ show, as some of my friends call it. So
anytime, just ask, buddy.
Awesome.
All right. Well, this was a great interview with the another masterclass here in the Entrepreneur Alliance. Just take it easy, and I'll see you on the inside.